Week 9 of college football is here, and we're back with another episode of previews and predictions. We've got another exciting weekend of matchups, big game implications on the line, conference championships, playoff contentions, and so much more. I'm Nathan Johnston here with my co-host, Brad Hopkins, and we're back with our guest, Rooster, back for week 9. Good to have you back, Rooster.
Thank you.
It's time to break the huddle. Brad, Rooster, good to be back for another week of college football. Talk about this every week, but it never disappoints. Every single weekend we're seeing marquee matchups, and it's getting better and better. We're getting closer to playoff time, and we don't know who's going to be in it. We've got a little bit of insight of some teams that are on the forefront of making it, but from 5 to 12, it's wide open still. So let's not waste anyone's time. Let's jump right into it. We've got a Thursday night kickoff coming up tomorrow night, which we're filming on Wednesday. So tomorrow night, where the Syracuse Big Orange hit the road to take on I believe, the number 19, I believe they're ranked. Yep, number 19 ranked Pitt Panthers. Thursday night kickoff, 7:30 p.m. on ESPN. Pitt currently favored in this one by 6 points at Acrisure Stadium in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Brad, I'll turn it over to you. This is a big matchup for the ACC. Both of these teams not really expected to do much this year, and yet here we stand. Pitt undefeated, ranked number 19 in the nation, and Syracuse, I can't remember if they have 1 or 2 losses, but they're having a remarkable season with what they were given. I'll turn it over to you, Brad. Thoughts on this ACC matchup and who comes out on top in Pittsburgh?
Yeah, Nate. So you mentioned two teams that have surprised everyone. They have Syracuse comes in 5-1, and the undefeated Pitt Panthers. What a job that Fran Brown has done. Of course, in his first year there in Syracuse. And to me, the big difference for Pitt is they went out and got a little bit of an under the radar offensive coordinator from Western Carolina in Cade Bell. And you're starting to see, we've already seen some coach firings. We've already seen some coordinator firings. I think Cade Bell is going to be up for some bigger OC jobs. May even get a few small head coaching offers. So that's a name to watch out for. Guys, this one to me simply comes down to the quarterback battle. I mean, I think you've got two definitely capable defenses, but Kyle McCord and Eli Holstein, one of the premier quarterback matchups, and Kyle, there were some doubts about him because he had some struggles at Ohio State last year, and then Holstein, no one really knew what to expect out of him, and he has come out and led a really, really good Pitt offense. I think it's going to be a good atmosphere on Thursday night. I'm taking the Panthers. I think Holstein makes more plays than McCord does, and his legs also help. So give me the Panthers in this one.
Wow, Brad. Going with the home team and going with Pitt to remain undefeated. Rooster, I'll turn it over to you. You're back for another week and coming off of a 2-4 week last week under the radar. Who are you going to pick to bounce back?
Well, in the short game weeks, the home team benefits greatly in these matchups because they don't have to travel. They get an extra day of preparation. And when it comes down to it, the Pitt Panthers, they're still an undefeated football team. We can't forget about that. I mean, while Syracuse they have a lot of assets on the offensive end of the ball with Gadsden and Quint Allen and McCord. The Pitt Panthers still have a chance to win the ACC, and many people are not talking about them. They don't have to play Miami. So, I mean, if we're looking down at their schedule in a couple weeks, I mean, the Clemson versus Pitt game could ultimately decide that if Pitt continues to win, that's the deciding factor in who gets the second spot for the ACC championship. Because I don't believe Miami plays Clemson unless they ended up making it to the championship. So I think that Pitt still has a lot to play for. I'm going to take Pitt in this one with the short week, and then still having a chance to make it to the ACC championship.
Wow. Yeah, this is going to be a big matchup, guys. This is for championship contender right here. I mean, you got Pitt, Syracuse. Again, like I said at the beginning, two teams going for an ACC title. This could be the game that either gets them in or loses either way. And Brad, to your point, this is a quarterback battle, right? You got Eli Holstein on one side. You got, and I'm drawing a blank. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank. Kyle McCord. I don't know why I can think of his name. Like Ohio State quarterback from last year. But when you look at Pitt's schedule, outside of their blowouts from Kent State and Youngstown, they're only beating teams by an average of 4.3 points a game. And when you look at their win against Cal, they win by 2 later on in the game. Guys, I'm going to disagree with y'all on this one. I'm going to go with Syracuse. I think Kyle McCord, this is his time to shine. He's played well. I think Eli Holstein has played well too. But Syracuse's defense isn't getting enough credit. I think they run the ball very well. I think Kyle McCord has played exceptional. And I don't know. I'm going my gut here. I think with 19 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, I get it, short week on the road. But it's not like Syracuse is traveling across the country, right? They're going 1 or 2 states down to Pitt, into Pennsylvania. So give me Syracuse in an upset. I think Pitt's still going to have a chance to make the ACC championship game, but this is a must-win game for the Syracuse Big Orange if they're going to keep their ACC title run alive. Give me the Syracuse Big Orange. Let us know down in the comments who you think is going to come out on top in Pittsburgh for this ACC contest. Our next game takes us out west to Las Vegas, Nevada, the beautiful city, in Allegiant Stadium, where the number 17 Boise State Broncos hit the road to take on the UNLV Rebels. Friday night kickoff at 10:30 p.m., late night kickoff on CBS SN. Boise currently favored in this one on the road by 3.5 points. Obviously, both teams coming into this game with 1 loss under their belt, and they're looking to keep their playoff and Mountain West championship hopes alive. Brad, I'll turn it over to you. These are 2 programs that we've watched closely this year, and both have very promising outcomes at the end of the year. Thoughts on this game and who comes out on top in Las Vegas?
Really excited for this game, guys. Like, I think out of all the matchups, this may be, one of my top 3 games to watch this weekend. And interested to get y'all's thoughts as well. To me, this is a little bit of a playoff eliminator. Not to say that, the other team is completely out of it, but I mean, you look, two losses, both these teams trying to get in that group of 5, at large berth for the playoffs. So this, I mean, truly is a playoff eliminator in a way. We were just talking off camera. Obviously, these 2 teams could meet again in the Mountain West Conference. So it's Mountain West Conference Championship game, So this is a really, really big game Friday night. We've talked about UNLV a lot here on Break the Huddle, just all their off-the-field stuff that I'm not going to get into, but continue to be impressed with Barry Odom. Haj Malik Williams has just transitioned to quarterback seamlessly. Guys, I'm really impressed with Nate. I know you've mentioned this guy a couple times. Ricky White III, their really talented senior wide receiver. He has had a really, really good year. And, of course, he had almost 1,500 yards last year, but he looks like he's on pace to put up big numbers again. A guy for Boise, and I'm going to get to the star in a second, but is a quarterback Maddox Madsen. Of course, everyone thought that the USC quarterback transfer was going to start, and here comes Maddox Madsen. He's not a big guy, only 5'10". He's done a good job. 1,200 yards on the year, 12 touchdowns, and just 2 picks. He's done an unbelievable job. Of course, it makes it easy when you're handing off to a running back like Ashton Genty. And guys, to me, I think he deserves to be in New York at the end of the season for the Heisman. And I get it. A lot of people are going to say, well, he's playing in the Mountain West. Look, he's already got 1,200 rushing yards and 17 touchdowns, and that's in 6 games. That is a ridiculous pace. This game is going to be very, very close. I think you see both offenses and both running games really, really have success. I'm taking the Broncos because their defense in a close one. I think that 3.5 is accurate, but give me the Broncos in a road victory Friday night.
Wow, Brad, going with the away team, the favorite, even though they're not the underdog, They're definitely going into a hostile environment in Las Vegas. Rooster, I'll turn it over to you. This is a big game for both of these teams, as we mentioned. Who do you have coming out on top?
Well, as Brad mentioned, is this is a playoff eliminator. I mean, you've still got Army and Navy are undefeated.
Yep.
You've got Liberty's undefeated. I mean, even though their schedule's god awful, they're going to make it over any two-loss Group of 5 team. They're going to make it over any of them.
Sure.
So at the end of the day, it's coming down to, I mean, the loser of this game's out. And at the end of the day, all I got to say is 2 words: Ashton Genty, nothing else. As he mentioned, he's got 1,200 rushing yards, and he hasn't even played the fourth quarter in half of these games. And he hasn't played the second half in about, I know for a fact, at least one. I'm pretty sure there's been at least probably two games he didn't even play the second half in, and he's averaging 200 yards a game. I mean, Ashton Genty, that's all you got to say. These people are going to be leaving. They're going to be showing up to the game. They're going to leave and head straight to the sports book right at the MGM Grand to go absolutely hammer the Heisman odds line on Ashton Genty because he is unbelievable. I'm taking the Broncos in this one.
You know, guys, when I look at this game, it's an interesting matchup. I don't know what just happened outside of the apartment, but it sounded like someone fell out, or outside the studio, excuse me. It sounded like someone fell down the stairs at Break the Huddle Studios. But nonetheless, back to the game. I don't know if y'all can hear that or not. When I look at this game, it could have been the Broncos crashing in. When I look at this game, the defensive line for Boise State, phenomenal. The rest of their defense, horrible. They are definitely overrated coming into this game when it comes to matching up. So what do they need to do to win? Well, for one, they got to run Ashton Genty, which I think they will for obvious reasons. And number two, they got to keep Malik Williams inside the pocket, because if you let him break down and break out of the pocket and the play breaks down, he's going to make a play. And Brad, you mentioned it too with Ricky White, right? I mean, he's come on fire. Like he's electric since Hodge has taken over at quarterback. And this is going to be a tough game. I think they're right on the money with the spread. I think this is going to be a very close game. For me, one other thing that I want to mention also, by the way, at Break the Huddle on Twitter, shame on UNLV. You blocked us. Why? We've picked you to win every single week that we've picked your games. And now you want to block us because I'm promoting our channel on your page? Give me a break. Give me the Boise State Broncos big in this one. And I hope that summer intern of yours gets fired for blocking us on social media. And I hope your playoff chances get ruined because you deserve it. Break the Huddle has picked you every single week. Now we're all picking against you. And I hope you do see this. So, yeah, give me the Boise State Broncos big in this one. Cover the spread. Let us know down in the comments who you think is going to come out on top in this Mountain West matchup in Las Vegas, Nevada. Let's head out to the great state of Texas in Denton, Texas, where the Tulane Green Wave hit the road to take on North Texas. 12 p.m. kickoff on ESPN2 on Saturday. Tulane currently favored in this one by 2 scores. Well, a little over a score, I guess 1 plus a 2-point conversion, 8-point spread in this matchup. And these two teams, I believe they're both in the American Athletic Conference, if I'm not mistaken. Brad's shaking his head yes to confirm. So we'll roll with that. Brad, this is an intriguing matchup. Two teams that we really haven't talked about this year, but overall, these are two programs that are really fun to watch, have really explosive offenses, really good programs, really rich history. And I say rich history. We're not talking about Texas or Miami or Nebraska in terms of history, but just in terms of college football, it's fun to talk about these two schools. Brad, I'll turn it over to you. Thoughts on this AAC game and who comes out on top in Denton, Texas?
Yeah, they absolutely, man, you hit the nail on the head. Just two teams that have really done an incredible job this year. Everyone was wondering, what is Tulane going to look like post Willie Fritz? And John Summerall, who is in his first year course coming from Troy, he's done an incredible job, man. I've been really, really impressed with what he has done. Has just, got them ready to play. And, I mean, Tulane just guys, they just keep on rolling. I know Rooster's going to talk about their really, really talented running back, so not going to take away from that, but, watch out for that. Guys, I want to real quickly hit on Tulane's got a young offensive coordinator by the name of Joe Craddock, and I think is a guy that he's going to get some offers. Oklahoma's OC job just came open. That he may be a name to watch, but I think he is definitely going to get some offers to go to the Power Four conferences, and he had an unbelievable offense at Troy the past couple years, and that's continued. Jumping over to North Texas once again, kind of keeping up with the coaching theme. I'm a big fan of their head coach Eric Morris. He played at Texas Tech, so he is familiar with the state of Texas. He recruits really, really well. They run a fun offense. This is a big one in the American. Both these teams are very, very much still alive. Of course, we mentioned Army and Navy still being both undefeated. They are kind of the leaders right now, but these two teams are still very, very much in it. I'm going with a little bit of an upset here. I'm going with North Texas. They're very, very balanced on offense. 360 yards passing the game, 167 on the ground. Obviously, they're a throw first offense, but their quarterback Chandler Morris, I think he makes some plays, and I think North Texas. I think it's going to be a shootout. I think they outscore Tulane, obviously, and they get an upset.
Wow, Brad, I was not expecting that. Here we stand in Denton, Texas. Brad takes the upset in North Texas. Rooster, I'll turn it over to you. Thoughts on this game, and are you also taking the upset, or are you going to go with the favorite in this one?
Well, I'm not going to lie. Brad kind of took my thunder right there. I was thinking I was going to go with North Texas right there. I mean, Tulane, they got Hughes back for another season. He's having a phenomenal year, 800 yards, 8 touchdowns. He decided, I guess he came back this season. I mean, they lost Pratt. They lost Pratt at quarterback. That's a lethal blow. They lost their coach. I mean, they had a lot going against them, and then Hughes is still balling out. But Nate, one of the teams I took NCAA 25 to rebuild was the North Texas Mean Green. And let me tell you something: their run game in that, I don't know if y'all played. Their run game is absolutely lethal in that game. They just have people going all over the place. They drop 50 points a game. So I mean, not gonna lie. I may not have too deep of research, but I'm taking North Texas because I know they got a lethal offense, and I know they can score some points. And while they are the underdog, the home factor has to count for something. So I'm going to take the North Texas Mean Green in this one.
Wow. 2 upset picks to start this game day preview and prediction of this game. If you're listening to the show, I want you to come in real closely. I want you to listen to this. Saturday at 12, North Texas, that crowd's going to be roaring. They're going to be wearing all green. It's a green out. So those fans are going to be ready to go in Denton, Texas. Both teams enter this contest at 5-2, which means whoever wins this game gets bowl eligible. I hear a dog barking. I don't know where it's coming from, and that has nothing to do with my pick. When I look at these two teams, though, on a serious note, they're pretty balanced. I mean, both of these teams come in with good run game, good defense. But I'm going to take the favorite, and this is not a Kirk Herbstreit move. I truly believe the Tulane Green Wave are the better team in this game, and even though they're going to face a hostile environment in Denton, Texas, I think their defense is the edge. We often talk about their offense in a lot of these games for Tulane. But when you look at their defense and their special teams, they're scoring great as well. So I'm going to take the Tulane Green Wave in a close one. I know it's kind of anticlimactic with my pick, but this is going to be an interesting and fun game come Saturday. It's definitely going to be one that you want to keep an eye on at 12 o'clock on ESPN2. Let us know down in the comments who you think is going to come out on top in this AAC matchup in Denton, Texas. Let's head out to Orlando, Florida, and an interesting matchup as well. The number 11 BYU Cougars go on the road to take on the UCF Knights. This is a 3:30 p.m. kickoff on ESPN. UCF currently favored in this one by 2 points in FBC Mortgage Stadium. Again, like I said, in Orlando, Florida, home of the UCF Knights. Brad, BYU comes into this game undefeated, ranked number 11. All eyes are on BYU. They slip out with a win in a close game last week. Can they bounce back? And I say bounce back. Can they bounce forward and carry that momentum and maybe win by a larger margin, even though they come into this game as the underdog?
Yeah, Nate, absolutely. Guys, this to me, this kind of game is exactly why preseason rankings and talking season really, in the long run, it doesn't matter because we're talking about two programs that they were in to begin the season, preseason hype and build up. They were in completely two different directions. UCF, they were, kind of the dark horse. They were one of the top, I would say, 5 or 6 favorites for the Big 12, and BYU was an afterthought. And now we're halfway through the season, and you've got BYU undefeated, sitting 11th in the country, and UCF 3-4, and they've lost 4 in a row. So very, very interesting. UCF has surprised me. I thought when they started 3-0, I was like, okay, this team is for real. And guys, man, they've tanked. I mean, blowout loss to Colorado. The other 3, an 11-point loss to Florida, a 6-point loss to Cincinnati, and a 3-point loss to Iowa State. Competitive, but still, you got to find ways to win these close ones. And UCF has not done that. Meanwhile, BYU, guys, what's impressed me is you're starting to see this offense really, really tick and come along. And I've been impressed with their defense. But last week against Oklahoma State, and I know Oklahoma State, had some injuries at the quarterback position, but still they just gutted out and just outscored Oklahoma State. I'm surprised UCF is the favorites in this one. That is really, really, really surprising me. I'm going to take the Cougars in this one. I think BYU is really, really talented. I think their quarterback, Retzlaff, is just continuing to make plays. It seems to me that their running game is starting to come along too, so that's good for their balance. Give me the Cougars in this one.
Wow, Brad, finally picking BYU. You picked
I know,
again.
after all the hate, I know.
I don't know if BYU fans are excited or mad that you're picking them, because if they end up losing, they're not going to be happy with you, Brad. So
I'm here for it.
it could go either way. I want to look at the Big 12 title odds real quick because I find this interesting. Iowa State given a 30.1% chance to win the Big 12. BYU sits at 28.2%, and Kansas State at 26.7%. When you look at BYU, this is a team, again, that has under a 30% chance to win this title in the Big 12. It's wide open in the Big 12. And you have to think a win at UCF, although it's not a very good opponent in terms of strength of schedule, it's going to bump up their chances, obviously, if they remain undefeated, to stay in that Big 12 title run. Rooster, I'm curious your thoughts on this game. And, BYU fans, they have surrounded us and wrap their arms around us with love. They love watching Break the Huddle. I'm curious, who do you have winning this one in Orlando, Florida?
Well, Nate, we just don't need to overthink this one. Central Florida just got beat by 30 points against Colorado. 30.
Sure.
At home.
Sure.
So it makes you think the question of, we just need to pull the audience in similar to you did. What do they know that we don't? Because why is UCF favored by 2 points? You know what the answer is? They don't know nothing. BYU's winning. Don't overthink it. They got the 11 next to their name.
Oh, Ross. Coming out with some heat with BYU love. And shout out to the BYU fans, by the way. I really mean it when I say that they have surrounded our show. They embrace our show. They've been huge fans. Maybe not of Brad, but of the show. They've definitely been fans. Now Brad picks them, though. So BYU fans, now you can wrap your arms around Brad as well and embrace him in the BYU family. This is an interesting game, Ross or Rooster. You mentioned the spread and what does Vegas know? I'm not sure if there's any injuries. It doesn't look like there is based on my research, journalistic standards. But when you look at these two teams, the last time they played each other was in Boca Raton in 2020 for the Boca Raton Bowl. This is going to be the first time they play each other as Big 12 contenders. First time they played each other in the Big 12 since joining in 2023. And again, You have to think the odds makers currently favoring UCF. It's now dropped down to 1.5. So it's gone down just ever so slightly. We might see this thing hit even by the time Saturday comes around because you have to think everyone's going to be betting on BYU to win this game. Well, to those of you betting on BYU in this game, you're exactly right. BYU, they're just the better team. And we've talked about KJ Jefferson. We've talked about Kenny Boone down there at running back. We've talked about all of these pieces that UCF brought in the portal. And they haven't really done much. I mean, look, was I expecting them to win the Big 12? No. But was I expecting them to start off better than 3-4? Absolutely. And they've had some chances. They've had some chances to win games. To Rooster's point, they get blown out by Colorado, which we're going to talk about them in a minute, so I don't want to get into that too much. But it's just been a unique season for all of college football, especially when it comes to the Big 12, when you got BYU and Iowa State leading in the rankings. Give me the BYU Cougars to cover the spread in this one, whatever it ends up being. And if I'm wrong, I will eat crow, as Brad always says. I'm taking the BYU Cougars, but let us know down in the comments who you think is going to win this Big 12 matchup. Uh-oh.
I have one question.
What's that, Rooster?
Would you be as bold as the Florida State man and say that you would eat actual?
No, I won't be eating anything on this show. I might take off my shirt if UCF wins, but that's about it. That's Rooster. I'm not doing any of that. Give me the BYU Cougars, and let's pray that I don't have to take off my shirt on this show, although some of y'all might want me to. Let us know down in the comments who you think is going to win this Big 12 matchup. We're heading out to Brookings, South Dakota in Dana J. Dykhouse Stadium, where South Dakota goes on the road to take on the South Dakota State Jackrabbits. 7:30 p.m. kickoff on ESPN. You love to see the FCS getting some prime time TV. Even though it's ESPNU, it's not ESPN. It's still better than ESPN Plus. So here we stand. We picked the game last week, Brad, with North Dakota State, South Dakota State, and North Dakota State, as we predicted, came out on top with the upset in that game. I know Ross picked behind the scenes North Dakota State as well. Brad, I'll turn it over to you. I mean, this is an intriguing matchup. We love talking about the FCS. We love talking about these teams, especially as it gets closer to playoff time. And look, we're talking about a 12-team playoff this year in the FBS for the first time. But for the FCS, it's nothing new for playoff time in December. And both of these teams are fighting for a spot to get there. Thoughts on this game? And I don't know if there's a name for this rivalry. There's got to be one. Brad probably knows it. Brad, I'll turn it over to you. Thoughts on this South Dakota matchup and who comes out on top in Brookings, South Dakota?
Yeah. So first of all, the South Dakota Showdown Series or the Interstate Series is what I'm seeing. So that's a fun one. First of all, and Nate mentioned this. Thank you to the FCS fans, man. We love talking about the FCS games here on Break the Huddle. Had a great views and great interaction with y'all on the North Dakota North Dakota State South Dakota State game last week. So thank y'all, man. We try to do an FCS game, maybe not every week, but we try to hit one when there's a big one. And thank y'all so much for the love and the support. This is a fun one. I mean, two really good programs. We haven't talked about South Dakota, but a team and a program that is very good. They went to I believe it was the quarterfinals, last year and lost to North Dakota State. So the Coyotes are a very good program. And we talked about the Jackrabbits. Of course, Gronowski, their talented senior quarterback is really impressive. South Dakota guys has got one as well, and Aiden Bowman, big kid, listed at 6'5", 245. I think you're going to see these two guys let to push the ball downfield and make some plays. Guys, I'm very impressed with both of these teams defensively. South Dakota, the Coyotes defense is very stingy. They make you earn their yards, and same thing. If you watch that South Dakota State game last week against North Dakota State, it was 13-9, and I mean both defenses are just very good. I think that's going to be the tail of the game. But I'm going to take the Jackrabbits in an extremely close one. I think they just make a few more plays on offense, and I think they create a couple of turnovers being at home. So give me the Jackrabbits.
Yeah, this is a great matchup, and to Brad's point, thank you FCS fans for giving us a chance to come into your living rooms or on your tablets or iPhones, whatever you're looking at. Thank you for giving us a view, and we hope that you'll continue to subscribe and help us grow, because we're looking to cover more and more of the FCS as the weeks and years go on. It could end up becoming our full-time gig. But Rooster, I want to turn it over to you. There's no spread on this game. There's no betting odds or anything like that due to FCS. Who do you have coming out on top in this South Dakota rivalry?
Well, I believe South Dakota State, correct me if I'm wrong, they were recent national champions for the FCS. And we know that they have a strong defense. And at the end of the day, defense wins championships.
Sure.
I mean, offense can win a good game, but defense wins championships. At the end of the day, they have the best one. The North Dakota State, who I believe is probably the second best team in the FCS, who has previously won numerous championships. It seems like these two teams are the only ones at the top, competing in and out, year in and year out. So, I mean, at the end of the day, South Dakota State, they're just the better football team all around. I'm not going to overthink it. I'm just going to take the Jackrabbits in this one.
Yeah, guys. I mean, it's hard to gauge, these two teams in terms of statistics. We know that they played each other not even a year ago, February 4th. Big scoring games. South Dakota State beat South Dakota 70-67. And I don't know if that's I believe that's a football score. I don't know if that's a football or a basketball score.
Definitely basketball.
Could be either way. But well, look, guys, this one's up in the air, okay? There's not much for us to read off of. No one's writing articles in Brookings, South Dakota. So what do you want us to do, okay? We're out here trying to breach journalistic standards, boots on the ground in South Dakota to cover your favorite FCS teams. We're going to get a few things wrong here and there. When it comes to these two programs, though, what I can tell you is, for one, they both hate each other. I don't know if it's as big of a rivalry as North Dakota State versus South Dakota State, but it's a big rivalry. It's an in-state rivalry. And when it comes to South Dakota State matchup, to your point, Rooster, I believe South Dakota State's won the national title the last 2 or 3 years in a row, if I'm not mistaken. This is going to be a great matchup. I wish we had more info for you guys. We don't have the connections just yet. But give me the South Dakota State Jackrabbits in a close one, not only because I forget South Dakota's mascot, but also because they beat them in basketball. They're going to beat them in football, okay? They won 70-67. I understand that's a basketball score. But I think South Dakota State, I think they're just a better team in this one. Just saying. Let us know down in the comments, though, who you think is going to win this in-state rival FCS matchup on Saturday evening. And that brings us to our game of the week, one of the most exciting matchups of the weekend outside of these top 10 matchups that everyone's covering. Don't worry, fans. We're covering a good one for y'all as well. The Cincinnati Bearcats hit the road to take on the Colorado Buffaloes in a big prime time, no pun intended, but maybe pun intended, Big 12 matchup, 10:15 p.m. kickoff on ESPN. Going to have to stay up late for this one on the East Coast. Colorado favored by 5.5. Already hit their over on the win total, to Rooster's point just a second ago off camera. Played on Folsom Field in Boulder, Colorado. Brad, I'm curious about your take on this one. Both of these teams come into this game 5-2, looking to get to 6-2. Both have I believe, a 5 or less % chance to make the Big 12 title game, but both of them are still in it if they come out with a win in this one. Colorado favored at home, like I mentioned. Thoughts on this game and who comes out on top?
Very, very intriguing game, just for the fact that, we didn't know what to make of Colorado. Obviously, they started out hot last year and stumbled down the stretch, but I will give it to Coach Prime and that staff. They've done a good job this year. 5-2, chance to be bowl eligible. I don't think either one of these teams are going to be playoff teams. But look, the winner's still alive in the Big 12. The Big 12 is wide open. We talked about that earlier. For Cincinnati, been really, really impressed with the job that Scott Satterfield has done. Guys, he's a program builder everywhere. Everywhere he goes, Appalachian State, Louisville, and now Cincinnati, he does a good job. Real quick, just talking about Cincinnati, of course, Brendan Sorensby, their quarterback, he has done an unbelievable job. He's a transfer from Indiana. Guys, what stands out to me is Cincinnati just plays great defense. And a weakness of Colorado's is a strength of Cincinnati's. Cincinnati does a great job getting after the quarterback with, I believe, 17 team sacks on the year. So that really, really stands out. And you're looking at Colorado in the mid-20s at sacks given up. So that to me is the big storyline. You know, we've seen Colorado improve on the offensive line, but they're still struggling to protect Shedeur Sanders. You know, I'm interested to see how healthy Travis Hunter is. Coach Prom says that he's going to play a bigger role. When he does, guys, I mean, he's probably the most electric player in college football. For that reason, I'm taking Colorado. I think Shedeur, Travis, and those playmakers and those receivers just make a difference. I think they give up some points in Cincinnati, but I'm going to take the Buffaloes in a close one.
Wow, Brad, going with the favorite in this one, Colorado Buffs. Who would have ever thought, by the way, that Colorado would even have a shot at making the Big 12 title? I mean, when we began this season, no one gave them a chance. I mean, I believe their over/under win total is 4.5, something like that. And here they stand, 5-2. Primetime Dion has done a fantastic job, and I got to give him credit. Look, I came into the season not expecting anything in Colorado. I thought they were overrated. And look, they could finish off the year losing every game. But I got to give them credit where credit's due. They're 5-2, and they're playing fantastic. And to your point, Brad, even on the defensive side, they're playing better. I mean, they kept Arizona to 7 points last week in a game where Arizona – but they're not the same Arizona as last year, but they have a decent offense. And to hold them to 7 points, I was really impressed personally for that reason. But not to waste anyone's time, Rooster, I'll turn it back over to you. Thoughts on this Big 12 matchup, and who do you have coming out on top with a win in Boulder?
Well, I'm not going to lie. I was a hater to start the season.
That's okay.
I didn't think they'd sniff a bowl game, nevertheless even cover their win total. But, you know, big players make big plays in big-time games.
Sure.
And Colorado has got 2 first-round picks on their offense, and they continue to show up and show out week in and week out.
Yep.
And, you know, some may argue that this is a perfect timing to pick the Colorado Buffaloes. So I think I'm going to roll with Coach Prime and the Buffs because they've got the best players. I didn't believe the transfer portal. Didn't believe the transfer portal method, but you know, it seems that nobody can outscore them, and whoever has the most points wins the game. So I'm just going to roll the Buffs in this one, and I'll just turn it back over to you, Nate.
Well, thank you, Rooster. I appreciate that pick, and appreciate you turning it back over to me. Look, I was a hater as well. Going into the season, I really didn't expect Colorado to do much. I've said it once, I'll say it again. And shout out to my buddy Jake. You know who you are. Big fan of the show, watches every week. And he's a huge Colorado fan. I know he probably jumped on the bandwagon too, but he's always loved Dion. He loves what Dion's doing in Colorado. And I had to argue back and forth. And if Colorado wins this game, I'm just going to have to hear more from him, which is fine. You know, you gotta give your roses where they're deserved. I'm going to take the Colorado Buffs as well. I think to Rooster's point, they're just outscoring everyone. And the Big 12 is so weird this year. We came into this season thinking that Oklahoma State, TCU, maybe a Texas Tech, some of these programs that had a little bit more experience in the Big 12 were going to have a chance, maybe a UCF even. And all those teams have disappointed. Now with Oklahoma State, obviously they're a one-trick pony. They've got Ollie Gordon, and that's it. And I think Ollie Gordon's still going to have a great NFL career when he gets a better offensive line and a better offense in front of him. But, hey, that's neither here nor there. We're here to talk about the Colorado Buffs today. Give me the Colorado Buffs big. I think they cover the spread. And I think Cincinnati, look, they're going to come into this game swinging. I don't want to know the over-under for points. I want to know the over-under for fights because I'm expecting Cincinnati to throw some punches in this one. It just feels like one of those games where both of these teams, they're not rivals. They don't hate each other, but there just seems to be animosity, doesn't there? I mean, it just seems like one of those games where you're going to see a couple of the DBs and safeties and wide receivers start throwing some punches, maybe O-line, D-line. This is going to be a gritty, feisty game. This is the type of game that you want to pop the popcorn for, because all stars are going to be on the field for this one in Boulder. But give me the Colorado Buffs to cover the spread in this one. Shout out to my buddy Jake again. Let us know down in the comments who you think is going to come out on top in this Big 12 matchup Saturday night in Boulder, Colorado. That's a wrap for this week. When we come back next week, we're going to discuss the Week 10 previews and predictions. If you haven't already, subscribe down below. Give this video a like. And let us know down in the comments who you have coming out on top on these 6 matchups for the week. We'll see you next week. It's time to break the huddle.